Welcome to Eleanor's Bake Shop. We have decided, as we are beginning to sell our bread flour, that we should do a class, but we never had time. So we are going to do a few tutorials that we'll put online so that you can look them up and get little extra helps and hints on how to use the flour blend to make your bread and other items. To start out today, we're going to make a loaf of bread. The first thing that we do is we get the instant yeast, but we treat it like it's the old yeast where we soak it. And for a loaf of bread, I use a tablespoon of yeast. And depending on the weather, I use from 1 1/4 cups of water to 1 1/2 cups of warm water. And I pour it in and set aside so it can be raising while I make the rest of it.
Why does it depend on the weather?
Okay, in the winter time I tend to use a little bit more water than I do in the summertime. And stormy days are different than not. So usually it's a little wet, I use less water on a stormy day than I would on another day. So about this we used 1 1/2 because it's now a little cooler and things have been a little drier lately. One more tip I think I forgot to mention on the water is you want it lukewarm water. If you get it too hot, it will kill your yeast. If it's too cold, it'll take forever to grow. So make sure you have a lukewarm water for your yeast. Okay, I add just a little bit of sugar to the yeast to get it to raise. Not very much. And then I just whisk it and then I let it sit. Okay. All right, the next thing I do is I get my bowl in my mixer and I add the eggs. Okay, I crack the egg. And I'm not a fancy cook from France that's been to classes and can crack with one hand. Okay, so I add the eggs first, and then I do an oil, and I do about 1/4 cup. And you can do oil or whatever substitute you would like. And it's about 1/4 cup. Okay, the next thing we do is do the flour. Put 3 3/4 cup of flour. Okay, 3 3/4. I put in a tablespoon of sweetener. This is sugar. I prefer not sugar, but most people I think use it. You can do Splenda or maple or agave or whatever you'd like. But I do 1 tablespoon of sweetener. So now we have the eggs, the oil, the sweetener, and the flour all in the mixer. And then we have our yeast that's now all nicely grown and ready to go into the bowl. Messy, but yeah. Turn it on low at first, not to splatter everywhere. Okay. Okay, so I put it on like the middle of the mixer power. Now I look, and this is dry. I need to get some more water.
So a lot of gluten-free bread recipes, it's like a pourable bread mix. It's really wet and you just kind of pour it into the pan. Ours is not like that. It's going to be a lot thicker and you can actually handle it with your hands. It won't be as thick or kneadable like bread with gluten in it. So this right here is a little too dry.
So
Too thick.
how it's supposed to be wetter though. Okay. So I add more. Once I get it to the right wetness, then I heat it for like 10 minutes. Okay, it's still a little drier than I like.
Now you can see it's kind of sticking to the edges of the mixer, so it's doing better now.
Where's the lifter? Okay, so it needs to be kind of like this texture. Okay?
And no, we don't put our bare hands in it when we make the bread for you. We promise.
This is to show you.
You can do it
how
at home though
sticky
if
you
you'd
need to
like.
have it done. And this is the other recommendation I have. All gluten-free batter, doesn't matter whether it's bread or cookie dough or cake, is all wetter than normal. So here we have to use gloves, but I like to use gloves regardless whether I'm here or anywhere else. When I'm doing a gluten-free batter, especially if it's like cinnamon rolls or something where you have to touch it and shape it.
Just like this.
So I'll get my gloves on.
Yes, if you don't use gloves, it sticks to your hands way more than it would to a glove. Sometimes when I'm at home, I don't use gloves, but I like coat my hands with oil a lot. And sometimes I have to do it several times so that it doesn't start sticking.
And the best gloves that I found for gluten-free dough is the vinyl,
Not the latex.
not the latex. The vinyl is way easier to.
Where can you get those?
You can get them or some gigi. Probably you can probably get gloves at any baking supply place too. But I get them at Orson Geeks.
Now what are you doing?
Now I'm putting oil out because it will stick to your hands. It will stick to the counter. It will stick everywhere. Because
It'll stick to wax paper.
It will stick to wax paper. It sticks to everything. So I put on some and then I kind of move it off to the side, the extra. Because if you have too much oil, it will make the bottom a little crunchy. So,
If you like crunchy bottoms, which I like, then go for it.
Then you go for it. Okay. So you want it to kind of look like that. Now, I use a spatula. James, can you have me a spatula?
Wait, what's my name?
This is my brother James.
Sorry, Jamie. I'm Mom. I can call my children what I want. The red one is fine. Thank you very much.
Go Utes!
Boo.
I won't be edited.
Yeah, I will edit it.
No!
I like those other spatulas better.
You just use a spatula and scoop it all out.
Yeah, and like I said, it's like wetter than.
See, yeah, it's not pourable like some gluten-free recipes, but it's definitely wetter than normal dough.
Yeah. Okay, and with the gloves on, you know, I do rub them down with oil too, but I don't have to do it like I would my hands too many times. So then I just kind of pat it down. But I forgot to mention that I do beat the dough to beat it. I'd beat it 10 to 15 minutes. So you want to beat it, the more air you can get in it, the better. Okay, and then I just kind of flatten it, and then I fold the outsides in and the ends in, kind of make a little shape like that. And I get my pan.
And I'm really terrible at folding it and then picking it up. And so mine does not look as nice, but it still works just fine. So if yours does not look as perfect as hers, don't worry about it.
20 gazillion loaves of bread all the time. So anyway, I just kind of oil down the pan. Like I said, I moved the extra oil over.
As you can see, it's quite the messy process. Look how easy that is for her.
And I drop it in, and then I just kind of smooth it out a little bit. Get it to the shape, because that's the other thing about gluten-free dough is it tends to maintain whatever shape that you put it in when you go to bake it. So if it's not shaped well, but when you put it in the oven, it's probably not going to be shaped well when you take it out. And there we go. It's all ready to go. Now I raise it, and that depends. If I've got my really hot place in the oven in the summertime, it only takes a few minutes to raise. If it's colder, I like to put it on my oven, the top of my oven, while it's raising so that it gets extra heat. And then once I have it slightly above the pan, like about that high, then I put it in the oven to bake. So now we'll go over here and raise it. Just take all this stuff. Yeah, take it off.
See, so there it is on the top of the oven. I'm sure you do not have an oven like this at your house. It would be fine on the stove top above the oven as well. This is what the bread should look like when it is fully raised. See, it's just a little above the top of the bread pan. And then you bake it in the oven.
Here I bake it for 46 minutes. At home when I tried it, it was about 50-52 minutes. So it all depends on your oven, but yeah, at around 50 minutes is what it should be. Things gluten-free take a little longer because they are wetter.
At what temperature?
Oh, 350 at home.
Okay.
Convection oven, we use 300.
So 350 for about 50 minutes. Perfect.
Okay.
Back.
Hello, we are back. Our bread is now done. I just pulled it out of the oven. You can see that it's pretty browned when you use the oil. If you use like a pureed fruit or something else instead of the oil, then it's a whiter. It just is white. It's not brown like this. So you definitely have to baste it. I baste with olive oil, but you could use butter or olive oil. So I'll take just a little bit, we'll baste it, and then I'll take it out of the pan and let it cool, and it will be all ready to eat. Just baste the top. Like I said, if you use something besides oil in your bread, it won't brown up like this as nicely. It is a whitish kind of color, which is what I actually do. Okay, so if you just kind of baste it like that, it turns a nice golden color.
It's more evenly browned too, even
Yes.
even when you bake it with the oil. Basting it makes it look nicer.
Yes, it's more. Pulls out really nicely. I don't use my hands at the shop, but you can use yours. And there it is. One nice, lovely loaf of homemade bread. Gluten-free, healthy. So don't be afraid to try it. Also, we have taken the flour blend and just like pulled up a bagel recipe off the internet and put the flour blend into the bagel recipe. You don't have to just hardly nothing at all. You can play with it as you want. It worked beautiful.
Probably extra water as usual.
Yeah, usually a little extra water. You can use it for tempura. My daughters used it in granola that called for a little bit of flour. She just used the baking flour blend. But you can put it in most anything that is a yeast base or
Cinnamon
a frying
rolls.
base. Yeah, it works just lovely and has a very,
Scones.
very nice taste. Scones.
Navajo
really
fry
good.
bread.
Navajo fry bread.
Ooh.
Anything you would like. That's ready. Thank you very much. Enjoy baking. It's not as hard as you think. Bye.